Welcome back to another round of Secondsies³, the main podcast featuring Alohade, Jessica Galetta, and myself, Allison Weaver. And this time we are going to be going off to explore some Danish music. And Ella will be presenting for us. So after that, we will be having our lovely discussions and any kind of interesting news or things that we'd like to share. And so we hope you stick around for more exploration of arts and culture. Let's get into it.
Hey, y'all. Thank you so much for joining us. Today, we are traveling to a delightful Scandinavian country, otherwise known as Denmark. And we are covering a song performed by a black metal artist named Myrkur. I think that's Myrkur, maybe. It is called Ramund, and it's a very interesting story, as one would say. I have to say as a disclaimer that the Danes are a mighty elusive bunch. It is quite tricky and difficult to find information about this song and just about, about certain aspects of Denmark in general. Everything is like in Danish, so it's difficult to find stuff through the regular English interwebs that I'm used to. I
Mm.
had to go on many different rabbit holes. They were delightful rabbit holes, but just wanted to put that out there. Thank you, Denmark, for this. This was an amazing treat. Um, so I wanted to start off before we discuss this song, this video, the country. I wanted to mention this to both Allison and Jessica to kind of have this in mind when really delving into this performance. And it is the question of folklore and the role folklore plays in shaping culture and identity in the modern world. So, Ramond traditionally has around 20 verses. It's a very, very long um, song. And there are so many different versions written down, and I'm sure that like there are little tiffs that happen between the Scandinavian countries because Norway has a version, and there's a lot of like cross cultural pollination that's happened, of course, over the centuries between the countries, like Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. But it is mainly about Ramund, and he's this very strong man who goes to battle with trolls, and then he sails to an emperor to take his daughter to marry, and then eventually decapitates the emperor. So, real light, fluffy stuff.
The Red Wedding.
Uh,
Uh,
yeah. Uh, so the like I said, it's very hard to find translations for this song, and the translations that are available are not the best. But, just to give a small sample of the general vague idea, it goes like Ramond would be a better man if he had better clothes. The queen gave him clothes immediately of tow, fiber, and leather. Ramon does not like it. He says, "The kind I do not want. That doesn't make me look good," said Ramon the Young. Um, and he is not really a fan of his outfit, but he goes sailing and there's like a big, great storm. He lands on shore, and there are trolls in the forest, and he meets a giant. And the giant tells him, please, we will give you like all the ale, all the jewels, all the gold, if you just leave us unharmed. And Ramond is like, haha, if you're just willing to give this stuff to me unasked, unbidden, I'm just gonna invade and kill you all because there's gonna be more stuff for me. Real gem of a man, I have to say. And like I said, the story continues on and on. But this is just a small sample of the song. Um, and Myrkur just sings a small portion of this song. And the song has been, like I said, the song has been around for centuries upon centuries upon centuries. It's something very old and ancient within the culture. I also wanted to read this quote from a journal article by Richard M. Dorson, and he poses the question of folklore in a new nation. He explored the use of folklore and folk stories in several countries in building national identity and consciousness. And he says, for instance, in Ramund the Young, a heroic age hero possessed of physical strength and calm righteousness, he believed the Telemark peasants of the 19th century could see an embodiment of their own prized traits. Even the pronunciation of the peasant folk singers seemed to sound like Old Norse. And here he's specifically talking about Norway, but I had mentioned earlier about like the cross pollination and the fact that this tale exists in not just Denmark, but also in Norway. Uh, okay, so Jess, could we, sorry, Allison, could we move to the next slide? Okay, so Denmark. What could one really say about Denmark? Danes typically keep to themselves. They're very restrained as opposed to, you know, the loquaciousness and just outbursts of the United States citizens and American culture. So it's a Nordic country, and even though it is located in the north of Europe or Northern Europe, it is considered to have a more temperate climate, funnily enough. Um, when I read that, that kind of blew my mind. The kingdom as a whole does include Greenland and Faroe Islands, and a previous iteration of this show did do a little sojourn down to Greenland, but I did want to put that out there. It is part of the Kingdom of Denmark, but they do have their own distinct cultures. Um, and Denmark's population is pretty small. I was actually surprised by that. It's just a little over 6 million people. Uh, Lots of coastline. And if you can see, like in the graphic, um, it's surrounded by bodies of water, and of course that makes sense, especially when you consider the history of this country before, of course, it became Denmark, and the seafaring history of this nation. Excuse me. Um, it has a ton of arable land, lots of gorgeous farmlands, and there's a surprising amount of agricultural products that make up Denmark's income throughout the year. Um, and among the things that Denmark and Danes are well known for is a really high quality of living. People always kind of cite this title that Denmark is like the happiest country in the world. And people really credit that to like a high standard of living, lots of social security nets, um, really attention to education and arts and culture. And because of that, the percentage of population that live below the poverty line is lower than other countries. And going into the culture of Denmark, it's so deep and rich. You know, like each country, of course, has its own deep lore and history. But particularly in Denmark, there's like a real, from what I have gathered, a real focus on folk traditions, and the arts of storytelling, and just an attention to culture as a whole. Uh, Next slide, please, Allison. So, um, we have a wonderful classical composer, Carl Nielsen. He lived between 1865 to 1931, and his pieces were remarked to have like this really beautiful, haunting Nordic quality to the music. Um, his most famous six symphonies, the Wind Quintet, was performed while the Royal Danish Ballet uh, was working with Danish choreographer August Bournonville. And the Royal Danish Orchestra is like one of the oldest orchestras in the world. They have a jazz festival. They also have a vibrant theatrical scene. They recently put on a performance of or reimagining of Ragnarok, and it actually involves the artist that we are discussing today. It was done in an outdoor theater,
Yes,
so
and it was
just
amazing. Anyway, side note.
yeah. Oh, you watched it?
Yeah, I've seen some clips from it. I haven't been able to go out to see it, but I saw some really cool clips.
Oh my gosh, I'm so jealous.
The people said
I'm
it's
jealous of the
good. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm jealous of the people who are able to attend. Just like hearing and reading up about it was just, I'm like, this is so beautiful how there's been kind of a return to live theater and live
Return. What are you
art.
talking about? From
Sorry?
since the pandemic, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
And I see people getting more and more outwardly excited over theatrical productions and live productions. So yeah, the artist that we're discussing was actually involved in that production.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, and also funny thing, Aqua was is also from Denmark, so that was a little fun fact too. And then of course, again going back to this common theme of folklore and folk stories and storytelling, uh, one of the world's most well-known folk tale storytellers, Hans Christian Andersen, is also from Denmark. He's done Little Mermaid, Snow Queen, Ugly Duckling, Grimm's fairy tales. He hails from the great land of Denmark. So obviously, there's like this connecting thread that is found within the arts and culture scene throughout history of Denmark, and I see Myrkur as a continuation of that thread. If we can get to the next slide, please, Allison. Myrkur. Now, this lady's lore is so deep. I did my research and then I went back and did more research, and every time I'm like, oh gosh, like her lore is very deep. She is a nepo baby, but she definitely did not move like a nepo baby, if that makes sense. Definitely passionate about music and art and culture and all the beautiful things. She also has some very strong feelings about AI and just love for the world in general. So it's a musical project led by Amelie Brun, and she originally set out as a black metal artist, at least as far as her project Myrkur is involved. The song that we are discussing today is from her album called Folk Song, and that's kind of more of a departure from her earlier black metal days. As you guys can see, it's more folk leaning. She plays like traditional old instruments found in Nordic countries. Excuse me. The pollen is a real bummer now. So the real life identity of Amelie was kind of a secret for a long time. She didn't release her name. She kept it a secret, but it was eventually unveiled. And the name Myrkur means darkness. It comes actually from an Icelandic word. And for her album Folk Song, I believe six of those songs are actually reworkings of old Danish folk
Hmm.
songs, and six songs are of her own writing. Excuse me.
True.
Okay. It is her third album, and it's an older album. She has a newer album that she released since then. So this was released like right when the pandemic hit, like right there. And I did say that she plays like traditional um, Scandinavian instruments,
Like
at
hurdy
least
gurdy.
in her album. So things like the mandala, lyre, nickel harpa, tal harpa, um, and she's just a really all around talented person. So I said that earlier she is kind of a nepo baby, but it's doesn't seem, at least from her origin story, that she utilized that. It's like a very. I had a blast finding out her origins, but basically, her father is a retired musician and he was a pop singer songwriter in the early 80s. His name was Michael Brune, and her mother was a psychologist. So you can imagine the childhood that she had.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's gotta be interesting.
yeah, a Jungian psychologist, and she said that like her mom would try to keep that like her work at work, but like it would still bleed in where she was like always analyzing Amelie. So I felt like that was a fun little tidbit. And she like started playing music at a very early stage. Um, I was blown because like I was trying to imagine an average 5 year old and like their fine motor skills and their gross motor skills, and imagining like a 5 year old learning how to play the piano, play the
My
violin.
nephew is 6 and he's learning how to sail the boat. So,
That's
and
amazing.
I started learning how to play music at 6
That's
too.
amazing. Like to be able to tie all those knots at 6 years old
That's what he's
is,
working on. Yeah.
yeah. Because their little fingers, little kid fingers, always crack me up, but like, you know, in a sweet way.
So
So
just to
yeah, she
say,
did.
they little kids can do anything.
Yeah. So she did classical music from a very young age. Like I think she no, actually she started learning piano when she was a toddler, and then she started playing the violin at 5. She went to music college as a teenager. I believe she also did ballet, if I'm not mistaken. So, you know, the love for arts is something that she kind of marinated in from a very very young age. So then as she got older, she decided to move to New York, and she moved to New York without getting a like arranging for a place to live or a job or anything like that. I believe she was living with a friend of a friend in New York while she was setting up her life there. Um, and this is what I said, that her lore is so funny and interesting to me. So she started working with a photo agency and she had like zero experience, and she was working as an assistant to the agents. And one day SNL rented out an office at that agency, well, at least the writers. And one of the writers walks in and he sees her while she's like taking out the trash. And he was like, okay, do you want to come to Coney Island tomorrow and play a character in this like little skit we're doing? And that little skit was actually a lonely boys, like that one project that Adam, I'm blanking on his name. Uh, you know that song, I'm on a boat?
Yeah, I'm Adam Sandberg.
Yeah, I was gonna say Sandler. I'm like, no, it's not Sandler.
Yeah,
Yeah.
close. This is to say.
Did you
Yeah,
know she has
so
a new single? Did you hear that single that she has out, that Myrkur has out?
I have not listened to the
No.
new
It's
single.
called
I've
Touch
just been
My Love
reading
and
up about
Die.
it. Sorry,
Oh, I
what?
love it.
Once
Okay.
Ayla's done, let me see if I can play the song through.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm on a tangent in my head. I was like, I wonder
No,
if she's
this
going
is
to talk about the single that came out.
yeah, no, that's what this whole podcast is for. It's for these delightful tangents that we go on
I
and
know, but you were
that
in the
just
middle of a story, so that's not helpful. Keep going. Keep going with your story first.
yeah, no, it's fine. So yeah, she was featured in the Lonely Island song Jack Sparrow in their video. And just the way that it happened was just like a little delightful, funny story. She was there for like the whole day. She got paid like $100 for the whole day. She's literally there for like a split second. And she actually shot an ad for Chanel that was shot by Martin Scorsese. So that was like another random little tidbit. I was like, my gosh, this woman has so many little detours that I didn't expect. And then after that, like I said, she started off as an assistant, and she then decided to do like join a music duo. And even though like some people would describe it as like kind of hipster adjacent, she was not a fan of that characterization, and that music duo was called X Cops, and they were like indie rock. And one, like I think their second album was actually executive produced by Billy Corgan of the Smashing Pumpkins. But ultimately that music project didn't really sing to
Oh,
her, and
cool.
that's when she started. Sorry, what?
Nothing. I was just thinking about Smashing Pumpkins.
um, yeah, so that's kind of when she started working on Myrkur in secret while she was still with X Cops. She was really like into black metal music, and for her that was a natural progression of her journey as a musician and as an artist. Although apparently, like in her early years, there was like controversy around her through some really diehard black metal heads. I guess they felt like she wasn't the real deal or whatever, and
People
she,
always are
like,
ridiculous.
when asked about it, she doesn't really say outright that it's because she's a woman, operating in black metal, and there are some other women, but obviously it's mainly a male dominated field. But one
That
can
depends on the
venture a
country.
guess.
That really depends on the country,
Yeah.
I have to say, because black metal does have a lot of female influence. How do I know that? I used to listen to a lot of black metal and other metal. But yes, in some
Did I
countries
brings up?
it's more male dominated than others.
Yeah. Uh, and then that's when I was saying earlier that her album, the song that we're discussing, is from her album Folk Song, and so that was kind of a departure from her previous black metal music. Although I still say that there's, of course, black metal influences in
Mm.
that song. She actually kind of, like, that video that we're discussing today kind of reminded me of another like black metal adjacent band called Iluveri. I don't know if you pronounce
Yes,
it.
Loot.
Yeah,
Love
I love
them.
them. I love them
Yes.
so much. Let's like campaign for a tour of Iluveri
They
and
came
Myrkur.
out here and I couldn't see them because I didn't have any time that time. So
No, they went to
pissed
China.
off. Yes, they even came to China. They did a whole China tour.
My gosh. Oh man, one day, one
They
day.
went everywhere. They did China, they did China, Korea. Japan, then they did Philippines, I think. Then they did Australia, New Zealand. So they did all the major arts hub
Oh my
places.
gosh. They are so global. I think people like underestimate their reach.
Crazy. They got a visa to China. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah,
That's all I have to
right?
say.
Amazing.
That's all I
Jesse, you
have
have
to
to
say
listen to
about
them.
that. Anyway. But let's not take
Okay.
the shine off of Myrkur because she's awesome too. And I was really happy you picked her music. So,
I mean, I when I picked her, I had no idea that you were already familiar with her work. I think I
ah!
gravitated towards her music because of my love for Iluveti, and like I said, there's like a small thread that reminds me, like that in my mind connects them both.
Nice.
I
So
think it's
good.
also because it's obvious they're both Iluveti and Myrkur. They have a very deep love of their folk traditions, and it's really evident, especially in her music. She was talking about how she grew up listening to Scandinavian folk music and that it
Mm-hmm.
really resonated with her on a different level with her spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, like she talks a lot about this ancestral tie to her land and to the culture and to the spirits all around,
Mm-hmm.
and how it's like something primal. um, Around the time that she was recording this album, it was kind of coming at a very confusing, beautiful, tragic time. This is a little trigger warning. We're talking about uh, pregnancy loss, but she had gotten married to a her husband. His name is Keith Abramy, and he was a drummer with another death metal band called Artificial Brain. And he was her touring drummer. So they fell in love, got married. And when she first started writing folk songs, she discovered she was pregnant, but that she had unfortunately miscarried. And so you can imagine like that place of grief and loss that she was going into and recording it. And she's talking about how she wasn't her normal human self and that she became something else. But just a couple days after starting recording in the studio, she discovered she was pregnant again, and she's just kind of became overcome with emotion, and it to a point where the pregnancy and her emotions changed her voice. Um, she became something else, and it changed the level and strength of her voice. This is what she was saying in an
That's true.
interview. Yeah, she said, I never felt so in tune with singing as I did then. I had this power and this clarity, which was crazy. But it was the exact place to be, recording folk vocals with this new life growing in you. And I thought that was a beautiful way to look at this whole circumstance. Um, and just every time that I come across an interview with her, the one thing that always comes across is just how much she has a love for music and for
Mm-hmm.
storytelling. Okay, so now if we can move to the next slide, please. So it's time for your thoughts. I'm really curious to hear what everyone has to say. And yeah, if you guys want to share your thoughts.
I can go first just because I'll probably be more brief than Allison.
I'm
Um,
not. Anyway,
just skip over my part. No. I
no.
um I actually really loved the piece. I think It was just so beautiful to come into it like blind and just listen to it. If it's just something that would have come across my algorithm in general. So it was really cool. And it was hauntingly beautiful. I think the arrangements, the vocal arrangements were just stunning. The cultural elements and just like it was very ethereal and very spiritual, like listening to it. And I love listening to, I mean, music is such a spiritual thing. And
Mhm.
I love that when you can tap into that. So, um, I just thought it was really beautiful. It was culturally relevant. I think, and it was one of those things where like it was a cultural piece that also had like commercial viability. Like it was definitely appealing to contemporary audiences. And yeah, those are my thoughts. I would say like 8 out of 10. Just because 10 out of 10, I don't want to like I want to sound like critical. I'm just gonna be like, I'm gonna sound edgy and say 8 out of 10, but it's probably like 10 out of 10 for me. But like we'll say 8 out of 10 so I sound smart.
I get that.
That's so funny. Oh, but I think you are smart, so you can say 8 out of 10.
Thank you. Okay, I could just say 10 out of 10. The audience, they might have doubts. No,
Don't be
10 out of
ridiculous.
10,
You're
no
on this
notes.
podcast. You're intelligent.
thank you.
Anyway.
I know I'm totally teasing. The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing.
Okay, Socrates. Let's go. That's good. So, let's see, what can I say? So this definitely brings me to my roots every time I listen to music from my cultures. And
Aw.
I always have like because I have, just for the record, German, Swiss, Austrian, Czech, French, Netherlands, sorry, Danish. And then, of course, we have so Netherlands, Denmark, Belgium, Spain, Sardinia, South England, Ireland, and Scotland. That's the lot of them. So whenever I
Everywhere.
hear my heritage music, it takes me to some kind of like, I don't know, somewhat like a state of trance sometimes, or just like you feel your ancestors. I don't know how to describe it, but that's what I felt. And that legend is really, really famous, that ballad. And also, you can see some connections to the Prose Edda. If you heard about the Prose Edda or the Poetic Edda, which is a whole lot of folk stories, manuscripts. Um, and these are all out of accounts of the Norse gods and things like this. And then there's like the Icelandic tales, which are by crap, I can't remember who. The the Nordic sagas that you can read, which are all like very intense stories of these like people doing ridiculous things. Like this one guy was like, I'm not gonna cut my hair until I'm the king. I will wash it. So I was like, what is your problem? Like, there's a lot of that kind of like staging and power playing
Hmm.
in these old tales and stuff. But I really love that they were able to show this beautiful, like, just through the music and the cinematography, they were able to show the story very, very clearly. Because, yeah, it's a dark story. And even if you don't know the story, you'll feel the story. So, I'd say that I'll give it, as far as the story, obviously that's a 10 because the story is so intense and has so many layers.
Yeah.
As far as the music, obviously she's very good. But I would say I'd like to see more people to accompany her with the music. Would be fun. Like ensemble style would have been really cool. Or if they played around with the cinematography a little bit more. So I'm gonna say definitely 8.5 because it's really good. But like at the same time, I think it'd be really fun to see a collaboration with some other things. That's
Yes.
yeah.
I just thought of another artist that I would love to see her um, collaborate with. What's her name? I
Which, by
think,
the way, I
yeah,
want to play that song too. But
yeah. Paris
what's the name?
Paloma.
Who?
Paris Paloma. She's a British
Oh
singer. She
yeah.
did
Oh,
the
I love
song.
Paris Paloma. Oh my
Yeah, she
God.
she
I
did the
love
song
her.
for the War of the Rohirrim. And I think that they would both
That's
like,
how I heard of her.
yeah. That's how you heard of her?
Yeah, that's the only reason I knew her name
Oh
was
my
because of
gosh.
that
I
film.
had heard of her before then. I loved like her songwriting journey. Like she would share little snippets of how her songs would get from like stage A to like stage D. And I think she's like a phenomenal singer. But yeah, I think they would make, like, they would have a great collaboration together.
I could see that happening.
Yeah.
So do you want to hear Touch My Love and Die?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, let's see if we can get it.
Such a great title.
I
Oh,
know,
also,
right? I want to see what we get, what vibes we get out of this song.
I also thought it was great that like the venue
You what?
for her
You thought it was great that
performance.
what?
Hmm?
Her
You thought it was
venue.
great.
Yeah, it was just brilliant to do it
Oh
in like
yeah,
an
yeah.
abandoned military camp.
That's true. That was a very powerful location. Do you
Hmm.
want to hear, let's hear the Touch My Love and Die. I think it'll
Yes,
go
let's
through.
do it.
Wow.
Touch my love and die. Drink me and bleed me dry. So
Oh,
touch my love and die. I want it poison in
wow. That's so insane. Wow. Did you
Yeah.
know that when they put this song together, they recorded it in Dolby Atmos with people, all people, including a cellist, a girls' choir, ancient folk instruments, and 40 mics. That's from the
Holy
official
crap.
artist thing.
That's a
Man.
lot. Wow.
Oh man. I
That's
had no
so crazy.
Oh my
what
God, I
did
love that
you
song. I'm gonna listen to it 1,000 more
I'm definitely
times.
gonna listen to it more. I like the parts like I'm the remedy. Look into my eyes, you're blinded. Touch my love and die. What?
Yeah, oh my God.
Love
So
me. Oh.
her high
beautiful.
notes?
Yeah, she's an operatic, definitely. And
Yes.
that's why a lot of these operatic singers, like Alma,
Hmm.
Rosalia, also go
Yeah,
and sing lyric opera as well when they feel like
Yeah.
it. And they practice using opera. Like a lot of the metal guys and stuff are
yeah,
operatically trained, which is so cool.
yeah.
She
It's
just
the best.
hit that like bam. Phew.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, it's giving me
That
chills.
was that
My
was such a treat.
ancestors killed me. Whoa.
That was such a treat, my goodness.
Yeah,
And
wow.
everybody go get the album or do things on Bandcamp for the artist. We're supporting the artist this way and also in our subscription service and
Oh my
whatever.
gosh.
But subscribe to the artist, go on their social media, do things, go to their concerts, have fun.
Buy their
That's all.
physical media, buy their
Seriously.
CDs and
Buy
records.
everything.
100%. The,
Enjoy.
we live in such an exciting time, I feel, like in regards to music and
Yeah.
art. It's not all doom and gloom.
No. Though I like doom and gloom. I don't, I don't knock it. No shade.
Oh my gosh. So,
Okay.
did you know that I think the reason why Paris Paloma got that gig partially with the War of the Rohirrim is because of Emma Thompson, the actress.
Wait, what? Because Emma Thompson hurt her and stuff?
What
Emma
happened? What are you
Thompson's
talking about?
daughter, yeah, Emma Thompson's daughter is a big fan of Paris Paloma, and like
Amazing.
she took her mom with her to like her concert, and so yeah, she's like a big fan now.
Oh, of course she would be. Emma Thompson is a badass.
Emma Thompson is legitimate. And Emma Thompson is part of a story that I'm going to tell you guys with the Australian Symphony Orchestra. And
Ooh, I can't wait to hear it.
but that's later for the show news.
Oh.
Oh yeah, I got a little ahead of myself with my little detour about
Is
Paris
there
Paloma.
so is there anything else you guys wanted to share about the music or oh we were going to talk about folk music, folk tradition, right? So
Yeah.
I'll add something. So, like I said earlier, the folk thing for me is really it really is important, I think. It's important to listen to the music of your ancestors. This is something that I very much believe in real life, not just
Mm-hmm.
because we're listening to this artist who's inspiring me, but I think it's very important to listen to your music of your ancestors. I think there's something in the DNA that just connects to it because it's that
Mm-hmm.
music that got passed down through the generations. And I think that's something really important to keep. And there's a lot of homogenization of genres if you look at pop music. But if you don't look at pop music, there's a lot of beautiful folk music and other kinds of music that just kind of just stay there because they're not like
Mm-hmm.
worried about the trends. You know what I mean? If we look at the trends and everything, we're like, oh, yay, one world, global, blah, 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 whatever
Mm-hmm.
rubbish you want. And it could be depressing if you feel like you just get bombarded by this. And I don't. My social media is all like opera, folk music, and things that are my work. But I think some people may have trouble finding these kind of things. But that's where I would just encourage people to search for like what music was in your DNA, like whatever DNA you know about yourself, and
Hmm.
see how that music impacts you. Because for me, it's such a very refreshing and healing thing to to hear some of the beautiful music from where my family's around the world and also DNA kind of cultures and things. So
Yeah.
that's just a side note, especially the older music, which wasn't influenced so much by other cultural DNAs. Like, of course it was, but like not as much. I think that music just really impacts so much for me anyway.
Yeah. Uh, it, I really enjoyed what you had to say. Curious to hear from Jess,
Hmm.
because like I said, this whole thing took me on many delightful detours, and some of it was kind of heartbreaking. And like I said earlier, that there's of course like a tie between folk stories, ancestral stories, and the life of a nation. Of course, you can like get into a separate discussion about nation states and who draws these lines that define a nation. But I came across this really kind of heart wrenching story in this discussion, and it involves Douglas Hyde from Ireland. He became a president of Free Ireland, I believe, in like 1939, if I'm not mistaken. But he was actually a big proponent of keeping the folk stories and folklore of Ireland alive, because it was pretty much dying because of English colonization. And I'm trying to find the quote because it was something like heartbreaking. But then when you read past it, there's like hope hope behind it through his tireless work. Um, so this was an example. There was a large effort of stamping out the language of Ireland, Celtic. You know, the it's particularly in the mid 19th century, like around that time. It was like something horrific where children would get sent home with a string and a stick tied around their neck, and then they would come back home to school the next day, and their parents were required to do a notch for every time they said an Irish word, and for every notch they were hit at school.
That's actually real.
Yeah, yeah, that was
I know
that.
that because of my
Yeah,
family.
yeah, that was heartbreaking. So
My
but
God.
yeah, so there were like these verses at school recitation that was recited in Ireland. It was from Sir Walter Scott, and it was, "Breathes there a man with soul so dead, whoever to himself hath said, This is my own, my native land." So that was banned actually during this effort of the English Board of National Education.
A
And
lot of
instead they
things that
said,
got banned.
yeah, instead, yeah, they said that this would be recited instead in Irish schools. "I think the goodness and the grace that on my birth has smiled and made me in these Christian days a happy English child."
Mhm.
So just reading about that, and then Hayes's efforts to preserve folk stories, and like Irish folk stories at that point were given such little importance that people kind of would just throw them in the trash. They like whatever little collection of folk stories that they had in their house was like considered kind of junk. And so he spent decades and like created these organizations to preserve and find these stories. And they would hold these recitations where they would bring in these elderly Irish people who were, like their mother tongue was Celtic. And they were kind of mocked beforehand and seen as like um, this old like derelict reminder of what is not relevant. And so then it turned into a celebration of these elderly people. They would come to these recitations and recite these old folk stories. And so he had a big role in this because he was so afraid of the language dying and of the folk stories dying, and along with it, the Irish spirit and the Irish language. So, yeah, I thought I would just share that with you guys.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a very, it's why a lot of people like me are trying to learn the old Irish thing and always read the stories at least.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love listening to Irish songs like sung in Irish. I love
Hmm.
that there are more bands and singers coming out with this to keep the language and culture alive.
Hmm.
Yeah. So what do you think about folk culture? How does it impact you, Jess?
Culture?
Folk culture.
Well, my culture?
Yeah, your
Folk.
culture,
Oh, folk,
DNA,
folk.
and folk
Oh,
culture.
yeah. I think I think it's really important to be connected to that. So I feel like there's the ancestral culture, Italian and also Irish because of my maternal grandmother. But then there's also, I feel like I'm also very connected to Italian American immigrant culture.
Mm-hmm.
I I mean, I grew, I feel like by the time I was born, I feel like my family was very assimilated and colonized. So I grew up without the language, but my dad's side of the family is very was less assimilated than my mom's side. So I feel like, and they were South Philly Italians. Like my dad was born in South Philly, and South Philadelphia has like historically this like very rich like Italian American like the Italian market area. Though a lot of them moved out, but like that's where my family, when they came to America, they went to Erie and then to Philly, and very much a part of, I feel like I'm very like a part of that like history. So just like very much cooking stuff. I'm very connected to my culture through food. And just I just like knowing and being good at cooking and like getting and like learning stuff. I just think it's like something that I'm like naturally good at. I mean, it's taken practice, but yeah, that's how I stay connected to my culture. And also I'm trying and learning Italian. I need to, I've been very slow at it, but I want to learn, I want to be fluent in it at some point.
It's a beautiful language.
It is.
So musical.
It is.
Oh man.
I
I
mean,
my
all the
ears
good culture stuff,
Difficile
everything Europe's known for culturally
amore.
came from Italy.
No,
fighting
Well,
no,
not
words.
true.
non è
Okay,
vero.
now most of Western Europe, like anything like
No,
France,
je ne suis
well, not
pas
all of,
d'accord.
there's a lot of Europe, but I mean,
Ah,
not all of Europe. It's just some of Europe stuff like came to France and England by way of Italy.
this is where the
I
French and
love
the Italians would not get
like the
along.
division of Europe. People are like, "Oh, I'm from potato Europe," and other people will be like, "I'm from tomato Europe."
I have
I know.
ancestors from both because of
I
immigration. I literally
have
exist
family.
because of the US.
Yeah.
In this form, at least. I feel like we'd have been born in other bodies, but in this current body.
This current iteration of you, this is your version.
Yeah, this
Your
one.
version.
I had no idea your dad was born in South Philly. I just remembered Melissa Chimenti was from South Philly. I'm like, there's a connection.
Melissa Chimenti.
Yeah, she's the redheaded teacher from Abbott Elementary. She's
Oh,
always like,
I don't know if she's from South Philly. I think
yeah.
she just plays someone from South Philly.
Oh yeah, I'm talking about the character.
Yeah,
She's
yeah,
always
yeah.
talking
Oh,
about
yeah, yeah,
South
yeah.
Philly.
She's very much the Italian, embodies the Italian South Philly.
She's very
It's
iconic.
South Philadelphia, Italian hardcore. Yeah.
Ay, ay. Well, if you're ready, there is time for some industry
Especially
fun.
when you're talking about food connection.
Mm-hmm.
That's always true.
Specifically Italian American, which is, to really emphasize that that's different than Italian, not that different, but when, immigrants go to a different country and like finding and way to like keep their culture using the resources available to them in that country.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Italian American, a lot of it's based rooted in like Sicilian culture.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but most of it, I would say, Southern Italy. And some of like the Italian recipes, just like the that are popular, like Italian American cuisine, are like either rooted very much in Italian culture or like originated from, and are just like adapted like to American, like to Italian American communities, just like their
Mm-hmm.
version of it. So it's like a
Yeah.
diaspora kind of thing. So I think it's cool the way cultures find resilience out of context.
It's a very distinct culture.
Yeah. And very communal and communal and tight knit and very like family oriented. Though I think the more assimilated Italian Americans became, the less collectivist they became. But I think Italians have a very much sense of a community and just a sense of pride and like sense of family, like, you know, um, and kinship. And like, if you lose the trust of an Italian person, like,
Game over.
yeah, you're just gonna like, it's just like you'll wish you were never born.
That's actually true. If you don't,
Yeah,
if
then
you're
just
not careful, and
don't.
all the nonas will take care of you and be like, "What? What happened?"
Yeah, and it's just yeah, the sense of like kinship, even if you don't, even it's funny because Italians, like, even if they don't like each other, they're still like family, and it's like it's
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah, they might hate each
Like
other, but as soon as somebody comes to
ride or
invite
die.
you in the family, you're gonna die. If
Yeah,
you have,
ride or die, even if you don't like the person.
Have you seen that one Nona who like shares her opinions on like Met Gala outfits?
No.
It's so funny. It's so
Met
funny.
Gala, Met Gala.
She's like trashes the outfit. She's like, "Oh no, I don't like it." Like blah blah blah. Like, she's a straight up nonna, and then they're like, "Oh well, what's your rating?" And then based off of what you said, you would think she would give it 2 out of 10. And she's like, 7 out of 10.
Yeah, that's how they do.
Oh my God. It's
Like
like
if I
highly
Polish
critical. I love
grandmother, they
it.
would rate it lower.
I think an Italian love language is criticizing things.
Often,
You're
yeah.
like, oh my God. No, it's like, oh, I loved it. It's like, that's why we have so many opinions on it. We're just like
Yeah.
picking it apart. We won't do that to stuff we hate.
Yeah, everyone's like, there's like a discrepancy between her critiques and her actual number rating. But I feel like that adds to the
That's
charm of it.
normal.
Yeah. Or maybe if you think of it a certain way, but or if you just realize it's like the level of the critique is indicative of how much she liked it rather than like the
How much she
score.
cares, yeah.
Yeah, all the stuff she says, like taking that with a like at face value. But if you're like, oh, like she took the time to like, she clearly thought about this thing.
It's not direct. That's the thing that people don't understand. The United States
Yeah.
culture is the most direct culture in the planet.
Yeah.
But they don't do direct criticism the same way, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, it's like, if you say nothing, then it's like they don't like it. You'll hear nothing. If you'll hear like it's like laundry list of critiques. I loved it. And then you're like, really? And then it's
Yeah,
just
that's
like
how it usually goes because they want to show you what they didn't like, and then they'll show
we're
you
just
what they
like
did
I
like.
think just showing engagement with the thing. I feel like when I like something, I like to critically engage with things and pick it apart
Hmm.
and say what I didn't like, even though I'm like, it comes from a place of love.
Yeah. I remember when I was like traveling in Italy, I was telling my husband, I'm like, my dream here in Italy is to get adopted by a nonna. It didn't happen, but I was like, that's the goal here.
Yeah.
So you ready? I wanted to tell you about some of this interesting stuff that happened.
Yes.
But I
Hmm.
first want to hear Jess's because mine has a few, so I don't want to like
I don't really have
have
any this
people
week.
here.
I just that is like of note to note point out. So you can go, Allison.
Okay, well, there's several interesting things
Yeah, let's hear it.
on the first day. No,
On the
we're gonna
first day
do
of my true love.
the first day of showbiz my true love sent to me. Anyway,
What?
Emma Thompson, speaking of true love, Emma Thompson and her husband starred in a very interesting film that was made for live orchestral performance
Ooh,
of
what?
Pulse the Planet. Yes. And
A
this
pulse?
is the artist, the composer is Holst, and he made a very famous work called The Planet. And they made
Oh,
a
okay.
film that actually is super cool because it's from the Symphonic Cinema Project by the
Mm-hmm.
Sydney Symphony Orchestra. And basically they played this film for the people, and the most interesting thing is that this is a very interesting thing because it's talking about she did it with her husband. They played their she and her husband played the role of married artists in loss.
Oh.
So it's about loss, it's about people going towards the journey towards the afterlife, and um it's really powerful. I know this from some Australian friends. And basically the thing is that the film will be paused at any time or be sped up or slowed down depending on the live conductor.
Wow.
Oh.
Yes,
Sounds
that was what made it
heart-wrenching.
really interesting.
What's
And
it
they
called
also
again?
had dancers and stuff.
Loss.
The what?
No,
Loss.
the thing is called what did they call it? They called it it's basically the planet. And
Okay.
they just had kept the same name for the whole thing. It's called Lost. The film is called Lost, and the music is Hosts the Planets. And it
Yeah.
received a really good review. And they also have dancers and others there that were interpreting this. And basically they're talking about their experiences with grief.
Oh, wow.
So powerful. And I saw clips of it, and then people I know were there and they said it was amazing.
Oh.
And then another one is this is kind of funny, but you shouldn't be too surprised because this goes back to what we were talking about earlier. That one of my acquaintances just put on was part of the big thing. It's his name is Enrique Mazzola, and Enrique Mazzola
Hmm.
is the director of the Lyric Opera of Chicago. And
Oh.
also he presented with Jackie Chan for the first time a new staging of the Opera Turandot, which of course takes place in ancient China. And
Oh.
Huh.
they're just finishing they're starting the premiere now today tonight.
Oh, wow. So much great art going around.
And what else? They had the preview yesterday. So the preview was yesterday. I couldn't go down to see it in Guangzhou, but it's amazing. He was telling me a little bit about it. And there's also oh, the other thing I wanted to tell you. Where is it? No. Oh, I saw a crazy, amazing show which is still on tour, by the way, all around the world. And they may be taking a break for summer actually. But this is the or maybe not, depends on the cast. But they just got through a really long run of like several thousands of shows since the opening show of
Wow.
Carmen. This is produced by the Ballet Flamenco de Madrid. So it's like folk dancing plus flamenco plus ballet. presenting Bizet Carmen, which is insane. It was so good. Everybody went crazy for like an hour and a half. It was so amazing.
Oh my
Crazy
God.
beautiful. And I'll show you guys some images from that and we get offline. But yeah, amazing, amazing. There's so many interesting things that people are doing with like minimalist and avant-garde kind of staging now because of the situations around the world. So they're just trying to be economically and eco-friendly. But there's some really amazing stuff happening. Those are just a few things. So
Oh.
lovely.
Uh,
And probably before we wait, when oh no, we'll be recording again before that other thing. Cool. But yeah, lots of interesting things. Lots of interesting things. So I think that's another point about the whole thing about folk dancing, folk music, right? All that stuff coming to just, people are engaging with it more, but in different formats. And I think that's pretty nice.
mhm.
Mhm.
And that was also funny because it was directed by Jackie Chan, the opera one. And then this other thing was a friend of my friend is the director of this one. I was like, wow,
That's
that's
so
such a small
exciting.
world. And the artists were really sweet, and they signed the autographs for my friend's daughter, so she was happy.
Oh, that is really sweet.
They're really dolls. Anyway, so I think that's all I have to say about that. Does anyone have anything else to add?
Paris Paloma is releasing a new album and she announced a new tour. So this is fresh, fresh news.
Paris Paloma
Everybody should
likes
go watch her tour. Go spend the
Yes.
money. Make it worth it.
Listen to her single Miyazaki. She really delves into the joy and resistance of making art.
Yeah, I love it. I love her art.
Yeah.
Everybody support the artist.
Yes.
Ah, all right. Well, I think this is good place to stop for today. And hopefully you guys had a lovely time. We're on our little journey here, and we hope you have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you find yourselves. And we'll be
Yay.
back when we can. Life is
Oh,
crazy, but we love art, so have a wonderful day.
yeah.